right, we're here in the pit. Today I'm with the guys from Phoenix, Arizona, the band The Pattern Interrupt.
How's it going?
I've got Patrick O'Neill here, the drummer for Pattern Interrupt.
That's right.
And Gail Estrada. Gail, what are you doing?
Sitting here.
So listen, we ran across you guys in Phoenix on the 2013 Project Independent Tour.
Yes.
We had a couple stops in Phoenix. You guys were on the first one. You were on the tour finale.
That's right. Yeah, very last day.
So you were on Element A440's Coming Home Party.
Yes.
Big expectations for that, huh?
Yep. Yeah, that was something that honestly we didn't really know what to expect out of it. You know, we played at that same venue before, so you know we figured we'd do okay there. But you know, it turned out to drastically exceed our expectations. We had a great time. Turnout was great. It was just a great environment for everybody.
That was actually my first show with the band too.
That's right.
So it was kind of more expectations of me than anything that night. I was just so worried about everything that I was either going to do right or do wrong. And then on top of that, having everything that came with the show, I mean, from the cameras and then the crowd reaction and stuff like that, it was definitely a big deal.
I think up to that point, everybody that we had run across, all the locals, you know, they were pretty chill about everything. But that night, everybody was kind of, and I don't even know if you guys felt, everybody was kind of a little on edge that line. I think there was a lot of anticipation with Element A440 being back home. Everybody knew they were going to put on a dope-ass show.
I think everybody was on point that night. I mean, maybe, I don't want to say anxious or anything like that, but definitely on point was the word of the night for that, or the phrase. Because, I mean, between bands helping each other during set breakdowns and setups and stuff like that, sound running smoothly, and then just, I mean, the way that you guys operate as well, it just bang, bang, bang through the whole entire night.
Yes, and that's something that was different too. That camaraderie that, you know, from what we understand now is kind of what Project Independent's all about. But just the everybody helping each other out. You mentioned everybody, you know, getting gear on and off stage and everything, and there's a lot of diversity within the bands too. There wasn't like, you know, all the same type of cookie cutter music or anything like that. You had you know, bands playing, you know, death metal with costumes. You had really good radio rock bands. You had, you know, just a variety of different things going on there. It's just a really cool atmosphere.
What do you guys know about the scene in Europe? Well, I mean, what have you guys heard about that?
I've heard Europe has strange porn, mostly in Germany.
It just depends, man. It just depends. I mean, I listen to, from Bring Me the Horizon to Monuments, Tesseract. I mean, that's really about as far as I go. It's at that. And I guess it's a little close-minded, but I haven't heard too much outside of that I can think of top. I mean, Iron Maiden and things like that.
Yeah, I grew up on Maiden.
What do you guys think about the scene over there?
As far as what I can see, it seems to be a lot more lively, I think, than most areas out here in the States. I think they're a little more accepting of not just metal music, but all genres of music. I think there's just, you can go to a bill out there like Sonosphere, and you can see an R&B artist, and then the next set is Metallica. Or any kind of hard rock genre, and then you can go to a jazz artist and things like that. So I think that they wrap their minds around music a lot better than other places.
And that's really why I asked that question, because you had made a comment about the fact that that show in Phoenix was so diverse. And, you know, when we started this program 10 years ago, there wasn't a lot of diversity. This was a metal-only program. And, you know, as you go around and you see other bands, and you're going to get a couple of bands that might be on the edge of what we feel was a proper fit for this, but you can get some bands that are kind of right on the edge, and when you see that they have success, it kind of makes you wonder. So, you know, 10 years later, instead of being metal only, now we try to work ourselves towards aggressive styles of music.
Sure.
Whatever that might be.
But I like that. I like that diversity though too. I think, you know, and I think there's an audience out there for that as well.
I do too.
You know, you get some folks that might, you know, go to a show expecting to see all the same type of bands, but you know, at the same time, there's enough people out there, I think, that have a wide enough range of styles that they're into to appreciate a show like that, and to appreciate a playlist like that on a radio station too.
And the reason I asked about Europe was because, again, exactly what you said, the diversity. You're going to a big festival, an all-day and all-weekend festival, and you're not seeing the same shit over and over and over and over again. You go to a rock fest. There's no metal. It's rock. You know, you go and you see Ozzy Osbourne, Joan Jett, Journey, In Flames, Soilwork,
Yeah.
Elvis
Slayer,
Costello,
Beatles,
you know, whatever. You know what I'm
Beatles.
saying? And I think that makes for. I think that has a lot to do with why music is so popular and so well received. Because I mean, you guys see, it's hard just to get people to come out to a show here. Why do you think that is?
It's a lot different than I think it was a little while ago. I think the economy has something to do with it. I think people don't have as much disposable income as they did, and you know, you pay $10, $15, $20 to go see a show, and then if you drink too, you're going to shell out even more cash. So people gotta, you know, they're not going to go to a show 4 or 5 nights a week anymore, you know, and they might you know, do it once a month or twice a month. So it's got to be an event when one comes around. It's worth it.
I think a big part of it's the money ticket of it. I mean, there's bands I can name that they would play for only if they had to pay or have their fans pay more than $5 to get in. They would cancel themselves and they would play outside the venue for free. They were and things like that. I mean, Fugazi did that. If they charged more than $5 at a venue, then they wouldn't play. And I think a lot of it has to do with the fact of people feeling kind of bombarded with having to pay so much for one show to another, and I think bands are kind of getting away from understanding that you need to appreciate your fans more and do things like maybe a free show or a $5 show. I know in Phoenix that there are something like that, a $5 Friday or something like that. They do that in some venues and things like that. I think more of that needs to happen instead of charging people $13 on a Tuesday night to come see them play at a venue, or $15 on a Friday or Saturday.
What is too much in Phoenix?
I think it's relative, but I mean, it depends on what you're getting. It's all about value, right? And it doesn't matter what you're buying. You know, too much for, you know, if you've got 4 bands on a show and it's just all locals and everything like that, and charging $15-20 for it, that's probably too much. You know,
What if those
if you
locals
got-
are putting on a show like an Element A440?
And I think it's a great thing at that point, but you know, the issue is, you know, you have a consumer out there though who's going to say, well, look, if I'm shelling out $15, I want to see 7 or 8 bands, or I want to see a couple of nationals come through with it too. And that's, you know, for better or for worse, I think that's, you know, kind of the understanding of a lot of the average folks out there. You know, because they're stretching their entertainment dollar, and you know, they're trying to get more value for it. And as an artist too, you know, we're in a position now as artists where, you know, it's tougher to live up to that, because I think the public's expectation is higher, and I think they're not coming out as much as a result.
Feel the same way?
I do.
So, you mentioned someone's maybe willingness to come and spend that money for a national. Where is the difference between the national and the local?
Aside from name recognition, not a whole lot. That's the only thing. I mean, the name helps, but some of the best bands I've ever seen are bands that have never gotten out of their hometown, their home area. You know, so but you know, you get the name out, you're going to get more casual people who aren't as deeply invested in the scene. The folks who are hardcore about the scene, they're going to come out no matter what for the most part. You know, but you know, to be successful as a band, you've got to also, you know, be able to get those casual folks that do only come out once a month or once every couple of months and everything. And the name helps.
So, is it possible, in your opinion, for a local band, an unsigned local, unsigned regional, whatever, to warrant the same, I guess, respect that a national gets? Where does a band like Element A440, where's the line drawn between, okay, they're a local band, a regional band, a national band? What dictates that, in your opinion?
Well, I think in Element A440's case, I mean, I've been watching Halo by himself do that project for well over 10 years. I mean, I've been going to shows of it since I was 19. I'm 28 now. So the fact that finally he's gotten out there and the band is doing really great, and I think they broke that barrier within the last couple of years of being between a local band and a national band. And I know he's done tons of stuff before, but it's always been just such a, I think it's been such a obstacle for him to finally get the right people and the right project going with it to get out there. And I think that Element 844 is definitely a national band. They might be from our hometown, but they're a national band.
And that's why I bring them up, because again, you guys have had the chance to grow up with them, plus they were our featured artists last year,
Right.
so, you know, there's kind of that relation that you guys have there.
Yeah, and you know, really the term national and local and everything like that, that's, you know, that really applies to geography more than anything. But that there's not anything that I think differentiates necessarily a certain band from being a local versus a national just based on a stage show or performance or anything like that. That just means that they get out there. You know, you take a band like Helldorado 844, they're a pro band, and pro band is probably even a better term than national versus local or anything like that. You put a pro band out there who's putting on a professional show, invest the time, invest the energy into not only the stage show, but putting together the complete product, promotion, everything that they do with it. That's worth spending money on a ticket for. And the people see that, regardless of what market you're in, whether you're out of town or home.
Especially with their show.
Mm-hmm.
They've always put on, Element 844 has always put on a good show, and they've never disappointed. Never. Anytime I've seen them play, it's never been a disappointment because of the amount of thought that band puts into putting on a live show for their fans is, I think, a lot more than a lot of bands within our scene as well as outside of Arizona. They definitely put a lot of thought into what they do and make sure that whenever they play, it's 100% plus.
And you know what, with those guys, because they are into the kind of rock metal that they're into, that shock rock stuff where there's a lot of visualization going on, the bands that aren't into that, you mentioned professionalism, the ability to connect with your audience in a live environment. For the bands that don't go to the extreme of an Element 8440, what do you expect from them? How do you expect them to connect with their audience? What are you guys looking for? What are you guys bringing to the table? How are you connecting without the aid of audio-visual equipment? Like,
Besides weight, that's what I remember was weight.
weight, bring some weight,
Yeah.
just right down to the edge of the stage and fuck it, here it is, huh?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
You can see my stomach at least 6 times a show. Make sure you look out
And when he turns around, get the hell out of the
for
way.
it. Yep, back into ass.
I think the answer to that question is different, though. You know, because that's up to the consumer, right? That's up to the person in the crowd. So how you know, what resonates with the crowd that you have, you know, is going to be something different for each individual. And there's lots of ways to go about it. There's not one right or wrong way to do it. You just got to figure out how you're going to connect to your audience that way. And you know, talking about Element 8440, so bring them up. You know, they do that by putting on just a stage show that's visually enticing, while still just playing some really tight music along with it. You know, another way to do it is, you take bands like Periphery, for example. I don't think that they don't move around a whole lot on stage, but if you're a musician, you dig watching the technicality of what they do. That's another way to do it. And you connect, you know, that way, especially with musicians. You can just have, you know, a hardcore show where everybody's just spazzing out, really getting into it and everything. You connect with the crowd that way. So I don't think there's any one answer to that. There's just a lot of different ways to do it. You just have to understand and as you grow as a band, understand what type of band you are and what your audience is going to be and what you want your audience to be and you know, cater to that.
So what's working for the Pattern Interrupt?
We're still a young band. We're still learning, but you know, it's a work in progress right now. But for us, we try. We want to have a good time with it, make it a party, and not take ourselves too seriously. And our shtick is, you know, pretty much that. We'll crack a few jokes and you know, have a good time with everybody. But at the same time, we try and, you know, create some energy on stage that hopefully folks can get into.
And that's a lot on you, right? Crashing on stage on it. This guy's stuck behind some drums.
I know. And that's where you
Nobody pays attention to me.
I think emotion in a band's music. I mean, a person going out to a show, it doesn't always have to be theatrics. It's how the person that's seeing the band or the artist is moved. And I mean, I know that from personal experience. I mean, with music that I listen to, I mean, the emotions that come with it can kind of overwhelm you, and you can really appreciate what that band's doing. So you don't necessarily have to have a bunch of lights and a flying pig and be Pink Floyd or this and that. You can just have really good driving music and grab a person's attention, and they'll grasp onto what you're talking about, or what you are as a band or as an artist, and what you're trying to perceive to those people. So that's how I feel about it. And as far as what it does for us, I think exactly that. We try to convey emotion as well as being fun, all in one. I mean, it's a giant bipolar mix of everything that we can come up with. I mean, from personal influences to how we meld together on stage and then off stage with as a band as friends. I mean, we put every piece of that into our pot whenever we're making music or planning for a show, etc.
Let's talk about your album, The Pattern Interrupts. It's a self-titled debut.
That's right.
I tell you what, guys, I've listened to this, and right out of the gate, SID, title track, or it's not the title track, I guess. You don't have a title. It's the first track. It's the opening track.
It's the track that people like a lot.
Yeah.
What do you think that is? I'm digging it.
I think it punches you right away.
Why do you like it?
Well, I'm gonna tell you why I like it here in a minute. What do you think?
I'm asking you, but this is just flips.
Oh, it's just flipped. That's what it is. I like the groove. I like the effect that you guys use, the kind of digital effect that you guys use in that. Gives it kind of an out-of-the-box, futuristic kind of feel.
Mm.
I like the harmony in the lyrics, especially when the chorus opens up. I think that's a formula that a lot of bands are using. The rah, 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 Cookie Monster
clean
verse and then
vocals.
clean vocals. A lot of bands that come through here, Gory. That's I guess a recipe that's working very well. You guys do it a little differently through the implementation of the digital effects and things of that nature, and it kind of creates your own identity. With that, it's a style. You're not doing anything new with the style, yet you're putting your own elements in.
Is that we're not trying to reshape anything. We are trying to add our own twist of what's already there. And
Yeah.
we're never, as of right now, we're not going to claim to be that we're offering something new and different that anybody else is doing right now. It's just we're taking what we love as influences together and adding our own twist to it. So
I think that's fair. Yeah, we're not going to reinvent the wheel. We have stuff that we enjoy doing, and we'll take it in a few different directions and try and experiment. But in the end, we're gonna do stuff that we feel good about, that we think is going to resonate with the audience.
So as far as the fans concerned, if they come to a TPI show, what they can expect is not a lot of foo-foo, not a lot of frills on stage, just some hard driving, jumping, melodic, all come together, have a good time kind of stuff.
And a lot of butt jokes.
A lot of butt
A
jokes.
lot of butt jokes and
Butt jokes are important.
dirty sex jokes
it's not enough of them.
and things like that.
It's The Pattern Interrupt. It's a self-titled debut from these fellas right here. Gail, thanks for coming out. Patrick, thanks for being here.
Absolutely.
Check them out, man. iTunes, anywhere that you can get digital downloads. If you are in Phoenix, get a chance to check them out. Definitely look them up, The Pattern Interrupt. They will be on the Project Independent tour this year, doing several dates. So check out www.projectindependent.net. You'll have all of the tour information posted there here, probably by the end of February or whatnot. But yeah, check them out. Pattern Interrupt out of Phoenix, Arizona. They're gonna fuck you up, man. Coming up next, we've got some other cats that are gonna join us. Secret. We'll be right back. And welcome back to the pit. I am now joined by the guys from Helldorado. These guys are joining us from Spokane, Washington. Starting out from my left, I've got Dust Richardson, lead vocalist, Gabe Miller on guitar, and Tommy Shearer on drums. Guys, man, welcome to LA.
Thank you for having us.
Namm show weekend. Everybody's coming in for the big party.
big party it is, man. We were down there today, and it's just a zoo.
Yeah.
And it's just faces on faces and faces on faces. It's just a maze down there. It's pretty incredible. It's our first time, so.
First time as a band, first time as individuals, first time everybody?
Yeah.
Go all the way around. Yeah.
Yeah, you guys are in for a world of hurt, man. You guys got comfortable shoes on? Yeah?
Yep.
I hope you brought comfortable shoes.
I
That's a
brought
lot of
backups.
walking. We call that mowing the lawn.
Right. Up and back.
Up and down, up and down. That's a good time. What are you guys planning on accomplishing up here this weekend?
I'll do a little networking, a little promotion on our new album, hopefully. Meet some people. Get our
Yeah.
faces out there, do some FaceTime.
Let's talk about that new album. What's the title? What do we got?
Alcohol Fueled Adrenaline.
Pretty appropriate for a band called Helldorado.
Right?
They kind of do it the way that you guys do it. Give me a description. I've got my opinions of what your music is and what it represents. Tommy, I've known you for a long time. Seen you go through a couple of different projects,
Yes, yeah.
and I gotta admit, man, this one's very, very good.
It feels good.
This one's very good, dude.
It feels
This is
good.
definitely the best thing that I've seen you a part of. So, and again, that's the
Yeah.
connection that I have
Right.
to the band. And then of course you bring the rest of the guys in. We get a chance to see them on the 2013 Project Independent Tour. And you guys talked a lot of shit in my ear before that tour day. We're gonna do this, we're gonna do that, and this, that. And I gotta be honest, myself and my tour manager, we get this from bands all the time. And again, knowing what I know about Tommy, you know, he's been in good projects, but nothing that was up to the level of the hype that you guys were putting on yourselves. But when we rolled into Spokane, you guys threw the fuck down. You guys remember that night? What do you remember about it?
You know, I remember before the show, previously I had torn an Achilles tendon, and so I went up in a cast and threw a shoe on over top of it, and it didn't really matter. It was my time on stage. That's what I lived for. And we just let it loose. Kind of like the whole band, in my opinion, it's like foot on the throttle into the floor from start to finish. Never let up.
No holds barred.
Come on, man, what the fuck?
Put it into my back pocket and find my list of
He saw tits today, and so he's still thinking about
Yeah,
Whose tits did you see today?
Too many.
Too many? Where, in
There's
Namm?
never too many.
At Namm?
Thank you.
Well, they weren't out, but they were out.
They weren't.
Oh, but they were out for you.
They were out.
Because you're that guy.
I'm that guy.
You're the vivid imagination. Are you the songwriter in the band?
Not the songwriter.
No? With an imagination like that, maybe you should be the songwriter.
I should be.
You know, I caught him in the mirror earlier, squeezing his man cleavage together, checking himself out because he missed the boobs at Namm so much, and he was hoping he'd see him again. So he was really kind of.
You know,
That's
we
fucking sexy.
made him feel better. We didn't look too bad.
The main
Keep
affair.
working at it.
Yeah.
You'll get there someday.
But no, it was a great night. A lot of fun, a lot of good bands. Just fun.
It was a good night.
Great
It
night.
was. It felt really good.
Sorry.
It felt like it was our stage.
Mm-hmm. That was our first headlining show, actually, too.
Yeah. it
So
was-
we definitely had that energy going into it as well.
We definitely wanted to make a statement. It was important to us to make that statement because we do put a lot of hype and maybe even some might call it pressure and set the bar pretty high for ourselves because we have very high levels of expectations.
You know, when we formed this band, we talked about it beforehand, and one of the things that we wanted, that we thought was missing a lot of local music, and even the modern big shows, was the show. The show was missing. I grew up on Scorpions, Judas Priest, Van Halen, big fucking bands, you know, that I still talk about those shows now, 25, 30 years later, just like it was yesterday, because it was so fucking huge. And I'm seeing bands now, I'm like, you know, I just feel like there's something missing. And so when we talk about this, we wanted to bring back the show, the adrenaline, the freaking intensity, you know.
So when you don't have the promotion that the big bands have, creating these big production budgets
Yeah.
that these big bands have, and you're playing on stages that are the size of the Hop,
Uh-huh.
how do you bring that level
Well, I'll
of,
tell you.
of
I'll tell you what you do. Okay, so I see a lot of bands that are rolling up there, and it might work for them, but they're rolling and wearing the same shit that they wore to fucking work that day. We look like a band. You know, we look like we belong on stage. Bringing up the leather, bringing the chains. Energy. conveying our vision of what our music means to us and projecting that out to the crowd, and then they feed off of that, and then it gets even crazier after that. You get, and somebody else told me, fake it till you make it. So even if you're not that big huge band, act like you're that big huge band. Make them believe that you're that band. There's a lot of people that still come up to us that can't believe that we're local Spokane. They ask what town we're from because we're doing something that nobody else is doing. We got a lot of national acts that are paying attention to us too, saying, "Wow, you guys are fucking bringing it."
The more energy you have on stage, the more energy the crowd's gonna have.
Absolutely.
The more
Every
fun
time.
it's gonna have. So.
Every time.
You're not saying much, Tommy. What the fuck,
That's
man?
because I'm listening to my voice.
You're just listening.
Yeah.
You've always been that guy, man.
Well, that's because I like to pick and choose my moments of when to say something.
Yeah.
I don't
You're
know.
like
Always
the fly
have
on
to be
the
a
wall.
motor mouth,
That's not typical for a drummer, man.
Right?
You guys
I'm not
usually
a
have
typical
a drummer to say about
I'm not a
everything.
typical drummer, so.
He'll stand up behind his kit, play a fucking song.
I've fucking seen him do it,
right?
man.
Right?
Yeah,
Right,
he'll get your fucking attention.
We don't want to be like everybody else. And you know what? Nobody should. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say that's already enough attention on me that maybe I don't have to run my mouth.
You ain't got nothing to say.
I got lots to say.
Yeah, I'm sure you got lots of different things too. What's going on in Spokane, man?
What's going on in Spokane is I think that there's a lot of old timers that have been around a while that are starting to get a clue that the old scene and the old way wasn't working anymore. They're starting to see a lot of new bands come up. You compare talent levels, most of the time all the bands have, equal, comparable amounts of talent. But you're seeing a lot of these bands really starting to create a network and a feeling of brotherhood between themselves as bands, not rival bands, but bands from the same scene and bringing their fans together, like really merging things, and it's starting to feel like we have a scene that reminds me of, a lot of the famous scenes that have been over the past. And that's what those famous scenes in the past, the Seattle scene, the Florida scene, the old school Hollywood scene, it was all about the bands supporting each other. At the end of the day, it's a competition, but they supported each other enough. And that's what it's about, because the fans don't want to feel like they have to choose. You shouldn't have to make them choose between this band and that band. How about we come together and we put on the biggest, baddest show you can imagine.
Well, that's all right. You can use that profanity on this.
I'm saying, how about you do that because you wonder why people aren't coming out to shows anymore?
Yeah.
People are tired of people playing with their backs to them. They're tired of feeling like the audience is...
What do you think that is, man?
I think that there was so much stigma about the way that shows used to be done that everybody felt they had to branch away from that, and it almost feels taboo to do that now. Like you're selling out to do that.
What, to put on a show?
Yeah.
To put on a production?
Absolutely.
Really?
Yeah.
Is that something that's a
You know-
typical train of thought in Spokane?
Well, I wouldn't say Spokane
I'd
because I've
say
been
it
around
was
a lot
overall,
of
and I'd say it started in the mid-90s, and it probably died about a couple of years ago, maybe about a year ago, and like we've discussed before, you and I have discussed this, and we've all said it, was nobody ever talks about the show they heard, ever. It's the show they saw, and music is as much visual at a concert as it is what you're hearing. You got to go there, and I don't want to go there and see people standing in one spot like trees, planted with roots, ever.
Music's a soundtrack.
That's boring.
Music's a soundtrack for something.
It's a
Right.
soundtrack.
It's like, all right, you write your music.
Yeah.
What is that? Close your eyes and,
Yeah. But if I wanted to just hear it, I can hear it anywhere.
of course.
I paid to go see a show. So nobody wants to see Dustin, the produce manager, or whatever these guys do. They work hard all week long for their money. They work fucking hard. And they deserve a fucking night out. They fucking check to get fucking sitters, childcare, and everything else. They go out. Don't they want to have a good fucking time? Don't you want them to come out and see you again? You damn right, so make it worth it. Plus, me, I work my ass off all week long. And so my enjoyment is watching the crowd get off on what I'm doing. When they're singing songs back to me, they're forming a pit, they're coming over the railing, they're fucking rocking out. So when I'm up there doing my thing, it's like, that's my payback, Even if I don't make any money off of that show, to know that I got a packed house and they're getting off on what I'm doing, fuck yeah, that's worth it. That's what I love. I feed off of that.
It's pretty damn passionate, huh?
Well, we're a passionate band.
Yeah, I think you are.
Well, I'll tell you what, music is a labor of love. People that think you're going to get into it, make a bunch of money right off the bat, you're fucking stupid. You know, you got to work your ass off, and still you might not ever make it. You know, you got to love what you do, and you can't be doing it for the chicks. You can't be doing it for the money. Obviously, you got to do it because you love what you fucking do. Period.
So it's been, what, 4 months since we've seen you guys live?
Yeah.
About that, yeah.
What's been going on since then? We know you've been in the studio working on this album.
Well,
What else? What do we
We
got
had
going
to,
on? Let's talk about the album.
The album. We had to get rid of a member, unfortunately, at one point, a couple days before studio, and at that point I was rhythm guitar, and so I had 3 days to become lead guitar. So most solos got written in studio, but they came out great, and this album sounds bigger than anything I could ever have fucking imagined. Like, I think it's really good.
He did good, man. He rose to the challenge. It was a little interesting at first. How was this gonna pan out?
I knew it was going to pan out, and I'll tell you what, something about going to the studio after letting a member go was we were already pretty tight, the core four, but I tell you what, it was even tighter. I mean, we really pulled this together because the studio, some people go in there and just last days go, oh, let's just throw together a freaking album and who gives a fuck if it does anything, but we really went in there with the intentions of putting out the baddest fucking album of 2014.
And a lot of people would say just put out an EP, put out 1 or 2 songs. We're like, now we want to be that band that comes out swinging.
Yeah,
You know,
all killers,
We're
no
gonna hit you
filler.
with everything we got right out of the gates. So
Yeah. So, you know, we dealt with this individual for a while, and you know, there was things like you know, I think lack of passion, lack of commitment to the band and the music really is what ultimately did it in, because it was just the material wasn't being learned correctly, and so it was like, you know, regardless of going into the studio, it has to be done now, you know, because it's just, for me, I don't want anybody to take celebration in something that we worked our asses off for if their heart's not in it, you know.
So had you had an opportunity prior to ousting this other member to fiddle around with these leads? Had you messed around? Did you know how to play them prior to that, or was this kind of like, should I need to learn these leads? Or?
I had a couple leads of my own already, so I mean those were fine. But a lot of the leads were all him, and I had no idea what he was doing. So like I said, the 3 days before we were in the studio, I was sitting down, going through all the YouTube videos of live shitty sound, just trying to pick out exactly what he's doing, watching fingers. I mean, worked my ass off pretty much for the 3 days just to
Wrote a lot of studio.
Yeah, I mean, it's
tracks.
not everything he did. I mean, a lot of it was my own too, but definitely had to go back and do it.
Studio's already booked.
Yeah.
Room's
yeah.
already paid for.
Yeah.
Well, we knew, and I
3
knew
days beforehand, and you
I
coming
knew
up and saying you still
when I booked
don't
that
know the
studio
tunes.
time what was going to happen.
Good job, man.
You know, I knew.
It was a big step. but-
And he was,
Good job.
and the look on his freaking face was like, well, maybe you can come in, record a couple tracks. It's like, no, fucking all or none, you know, and it's none.
But
You
it,
can
it
do
also
all.
it made me a better musician.
Fuck yeah, turned out good. I
Awesome.
Found out a thing or two about himself.
You know,
I like
Sometimes
to
a
say.
little pressure's a good thing.
Yes,
You'll
it is.
get plenty of it, and again, you know, you still have a lot of good stuff ahead of you, touring and things of that nature. Wait till the wheels come off of that bitch.
Right?
Right.
right, we got Flintstone in that shit up the hill.
Right.
So we've got this new album.
Yeah.
You get your band together, you go in and record as a 4-piece, but when this thing hits, you guys will be a 5-piece.
Ideally, when we do our CD release, which we do have scheduled in our hometown of Spokane for March the 28th, we're gonna do it nice and big and give everybody a whole new Helldorado production that they haven't seen before. And I'm definitely anticipating that we're gonna unveil the new member at that time too. So that way, from that moment forth, we're gonna see where 2014 takes us.
And that'll be the debut of the new album.
Yep.
It's gonna be a big show. We got.
Signed, sealed, delivered, packaged, all.
Yeah, absolutely. Otherwise, right now, I mean, other than one track that we released out to some, exclusive internet radio stations, we've kind of been keeping it under wraps. I mean, anything good is worth waiting for, and we definitely feel pretty proud of this. We want to make sure we want to get all our ducks together and do it right. What Helldorado is known for, doing it big.
Is there an official release date for the album or just the release date?
I would imagine the Tuesday prior to the 28th, so like the 24th, 25th, something like that, off the top of my head.
Okay. February,
March.
March.
Yeah. Just in time for
You've
the
had a
spring
sneak
concert
peek.
season.
I have had a sneak
You are
peek.
the only one who's gotten a sneak peek.
I have had
Of
a sneak
every
peek.
track, that's true. You were the only one outside of
Yeah.
immediate blood or,
You want to get into this shit on camera, do you?
I'm just saying. You've been good.
I have had a
You've been
sneak
good
peek.
to us, and you've definitely been good to all of us for a long time, man. And we definitely trust everything that we do with as far as let's bounce this baton, pot and see. You know, let's just see.
You want to know what I think?
Absolutely.
I think it's very good.
Thank you.
I think it's very good. I think the difference between the bands that we deal with at this level and the potential that a band has is the difference between very good and great. I don't want to deal with good bands here.
Right.
I do deal with good bands because there's a lot of good bands that want to be a part of PIA. They want to be a part of
Right.
Who wouldn't be?
where you guys
Who
are.
wouldn't be?
Yeah.
But they're not ready yet. I consider PIA bands to be very good, if not great.
Right.
I understand that greatness comes from a lot of post-production. A lot of things that bands that do it themselves don't have access to. The tricks of the trade, so to speak. You can be a magician. Anybody can be a magician. It's sleight of hand. It's not really magic. Magic doesn't exist. Therefore, anybody can do it. Yet to really do it well, you must be trained by the master magician.
Right.
And if you don't have access to those people, those teachings, those tricks of the trade, or if you don't have access to the industry, if you're the kind of guy that sits behind the board in a Twidget and learns new techniques, maybe develops new techniques on your own, if you don't have access to get them out into the industry, then again, it's just talent that
By the wayside.
people don't even know.
You know,
That's
when
right.
we went in to record, you can take a crappy band, okay, and you can put him in front of somebody, a producer that knows what he's doing, and he can bring out the best in that band and have something that comes out decent. You can also take a great band, put it in front of somebody that doesn't know how to record for shit and use their equipment, and that great band can come off sounding like, you know, songs might be good, but it's going to sound like crap, you know. We sought out the best, in our opinion. The guy has a platinum credential in our town by the name of James Hill from Amplified Wax. And I'll tell you what, I owe so much to that guy because, one, he's a good dude. He knows his shit, but he's a good fucking person. And I would recommend anybody go through him because he will bring out the fucking best in
Just like
everybody.
you, he'll challenge
Yeah,
you.
he will
He
challenge.
does.
You work your ass
He'll
off.
challenge.
But you know what? It's fucking worth it because at the end, you know, when you're fucking rolling that track and you're filled up with fucking emotion because it's like, fuck yeah, that's exactly what I had in my head when I wrote that song.
Of course.
And it sounds exactly the way I fucking envisioned it. That's fucking priceless when you can get that in return instead of like, God, I wish it would have sounded like this.
Better
Or
luck
something like-
next
when it
time.
comes back and it's like, fuck yeah, that's exactly what I fucking wanted. That is awesome.
So it's a bomb track, fellas. We got what, 10 tracks on this
10
thing?
tracks deep.
Yeah. What are we looking at? What are we looking at? March.
March, well, probably before March, you'll probably see a video that we'll be releasing for a song called Talk Shit, Get Hit. It's something that we put together while we were in the studio tracking. So, I mean, we got nice multiple camera angles, you know, good editing. It's going to be nice.
Very fitting for a Southern fried biker band. Is that a good description for you
Southern
guys?
groove metal, a little bit.
Yeah.
Let me hear a better one.
You know,
I mean,
you're going to get those. You're going to get those
We are
That's
what we
cool.
are.
I'll take it.
generalized. I mean, that's what you are to me, and that's fine.
That's fine. That's fine with
You
me.
know.
I mean, it doesn't make me wrinkle my lip and go, "What the fuck did you say?"
No, I wouldn't say every song sounds like that. I think it's just straight up good ass kicking hard rock and roll.
That's-
You know?
Yeah, absolutely.
But there are some Southern groove tendencies in there, you know, and that's our roots. I mean, we grew up on all that shit.
That's
So,
what I write off of.
Yeah.
Is the groove guys.
but you're gonna hear a lot of new school influences, a lot of old school influences, you know, because I had a lot of great things that friggin' developed me is what I like in music, and so a lot of those things came out in the songs. You know, you're gonna hear some Priest style shit and a little bit of Alice in Chains and maybe a little bit of ZZ Top meets fucking Black Label Society. You know.
So there's a lot of your influences that are coming from when metal and,
Right.
and hard rock was at a much better time.
Yeah.
I think so.
What do you think's the difference between now and then, guys?
I'll tell you what I think.
What's
Besides what we already alluded to earlier with, putting on a show that's worthy of going out and going to see instead of staying home and listening to the music and inviting friends over and doing something else, is songs that you can listen to, songs that you want to listen to and sing along to when you're taking those drives to work, when you're taking those road trips, the kind of songs that you can sing your absolute heart out. You can get your heart out on the sleeve. And I think that's what our music does.
We have the Helldorado sound, and Gabe will bring a riff. It might be a bitchin' riff, but maybe it doesn't always fit what we're doing as a band. So then we might work with that bitchin' riff and make it better, so it kind of fits our sound. And our sound has 3 qualities to it, always, and it's fucking awesome. 1, you gotta have that riff, because people like a good riff. From Judas Priest to ZZ Top, all of them had a fucking riff that you remember, AC/DC. Second, people like to sing along in their fucking cars. People like to frickin' rock out and know the words to a song. Always, The last one is chicks like to shake their ass. So you gotta have that groove, that sex groove, right? So these songs have a fucking groove, a riff, and fucking lyrics you can fucking sing along with, and the people are fucking digging it.
Okay, Gabe, where are you drawing your inspiration from?
Mainly, the bands I've always listened to are more the Southern Black Label Society, Pantera, the Southern metal. So all my influences are Dimebag Darrell, Zakk Wylde.
So you're listening to the more modern metal, because again, there's a difference in age here.
Yes.
So when these guys are coming at me saying, okay, a lot of their influences are some of these older bands, some of the more my generation bands, yet I'm looking at you going, okay, well, where's this guy coming in with his riffs? But then again, it makes perfect sense. You're coming in because, you're listening to the more modern metal, but you're listening to, those southern...
All the old stuff too. I mean, and everything just meshes together.
We're kind of taking what was great about then, merging with the good from what's now, creating our own sound, and still bringing it big for the people.
It's definitely something that you can put into that vein, but again, it's from Spokane, Washington, and it's got a little something that's not just cliche of your everyday Southern biker rock. You know,
Well, we
what I'm
don't
saying?
sound like we're from Spokane either. That's why we threw the local crowd. A lot of them didn't know where the fuck we were from.
Yeah, I don't figure there would be a big,
Right.
I guess, artistic involvement in that kind of. It's not really indicative of that
Right.
of that area. So, how did you guys all get together? I mean, I guess where did this background, or where did this appreciation for this style of music, which is, I mean, let's be real, that's something that's typically been classified by the map. You know what I'm saying?
Sure. Yeah.
You guys are nowhere near that region.
No.
So how did 3 guys in Spokane, Washington, of all places,
As far as
come together with
regions,
this appreciation for this style of music?
as far as regions, and I'd even say like great songs or anything, great songs are great songs no matter what year it was written in. I can go way back and pull out a good song and go, fuck, that was a good song. Even in different genres, Him and I were talking before we even formed this band about doing a Pantera tribute. So we already had this big thing, and then after a while it was like, fuck the tribute, let's form a fucking band. Well, we needed a name. So we just fucking pulled the name out of the hat, Fucking Helldorado. I mean, there's like the biggest fucking name we could come up with, a huge fucking name. And then it was like, well, fucking, how big can we make this? Well, I want fucking stacks. I want leather. I want to bring back the show, And he came in with a riff, and as soon as that riff came and he laid down the freaking beat, it was like, there's our fucking sound. That's what I want to do.
And Bitch Slap was the first one. Bitch Slap was, once we hit that groove, it's like, okay,
Yeah.
that's what we want to do.
And Helldorado was
Well,
how
natural.
long? How old?
10 months now?
Yeah.
But this was like a preconceived thing, and then all of a sudden it just.
We're talking about a year ago, actually.
Yeah, about that.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the idea's
Maybe.
been around for a little while, but, nothing too serious. And then as soon as we kind of started putting this little energy into it, it just
This is a business endeavor.
absolutely.
When things are meant to be
Absolutely.
and it happens right, it takes off quick. And there isn't a lot of opposition, and it's really, really ran away, It almost feels like you're skiing behind it.
The name Helldorado, you would think with a name like that, especially in our industry, that would have been an issue. You guys run up into any issues with getting that name taken care of?
I'll go ahead and let Tom take this one.
Well, as of right now, we own the U.S. trademark on that name, Helldorado. That name, we come to find out, has been used by a few different bands over the years and around, but it wasn't owned, or at least owned enough to where we could put our tabs on it and say, you know what, we're going to stake our claim to it. Nobody else wanted to. Back in the 1800s, we used to find a nice little piece of land and say, you know what, I'm gonna homestead that shit. Same deal.
Yeah.
Nobody was working it the way it should have been. That name should have been successful a long fucking time ago, if you ask me.
Well,
it just has that ring to it that once you hear it once, maybe twice, it's not leaving. And it's hard to leave your name on somebody's tongue. You gotta have something that, you know, is funny, catchy, something that leaves an impression, and that one to me just sticks.
you know,
And to think I was trying to get you to speak earlier. Son of a
See, I
bitch.
told you, sooner or later I had something to say.
oh yeah. Well, the last interview it was like mostly you, so it was like, you know.
Well, see, I try not to, because I do sometimes, and I don't mean to take over,
Don't
but
we? You know, speaking of names being copyrighted, not to change the subject, but you know, Blue Oyster Cult recently had to go to court because somebody actually bought the name Blue Oyster Cult. And so they had to go to court and sue these people over their own fucking name that they've been using since, you know, the late 60s and early 70s and shit like that. And so I just find it funny that it's like, how could you not know that you need to own your name? Well, maybe at the time they felt like they didn't need to and it wasn't an issue, but now in this day and age, you need to own your shit, you know?
either that or do it for fun.
You know, yeah.
But if you're going to even try to do anything that's serious, anything legitimate, anything, you got to take care of your business. If you're not going to take care of it as a business, you know.
You know, we had
Yeah, in the water.
we had the pattern interrupt in here earlier, and he made a great point. We were talking about how we identify with bands and national band, regional band, local band, and it seems like you always want to accomplish that level of national band.
Right.
But he defined it in what I felt was a much more brilliant term: professional band. Fuck national, fuck regional, fuck local. You're a professional band or you're not.
You're getting paid for your craft. You're a professional band.
In your opinion, what does that require to be a professional band?
I believe it involves more than just your conduct on stage. I believe it involves more of your conduct off stage personally. It's the way you interact with your fans on social media, the way you treat people, your business dealings, copywriting your name, making sure you have all your ducks in a line. I mean, there's a lot of things involved in being a professional band because any one of those things can sink you. You know, you get a bad name out there, it can be done, you know. And so, as members of Helldorado, the way we act off stage, we're still representing the band. So you can't go out there and act like an asshole. And there's just a lot of things involved in it. And I think to be a pro band, you know, you got to have, there's just so much. And it's hard to really narrow it down. But I think we've done pretty good as far as that, you know. I don't know.
I think if you're making money, this is what it really boils down to.
I would agree. I think professionalism is defined by, you know, making money. That's the difference between professional and amateur status and everything else.
Yeah. If you act like an amateur, don't expect to get paid like a professional.
If you act like an amateur, don't expect to be paid at all.
Period.
True.
Exactly.
Anything else you want to talk about, guys? This is it, man. You guys are all drinking Blue Moons and...
Drinking Blue Moons, unwinding in Southern
That's not just
California.
Monster.
It's fantastic. In town for Namm weekend, so you know, I mean, tonight is just the beginning of our weekend, and we're really excited. We got some people that we're looking forward to contacting. We've got a few people at some booths that are looking forward to us stopping by and shaking hands and seeing what's going on. And so, you know, this is one of those rare opportunities to get a mix of business and pleasure. So that's pretty much what's going on at this moment. Otherwise, just working towards getting that album out. When that happens, then I would imagine by then we'll have a whole lot more to talk about.
I bet we will.
That's what I'm thinking.
Anything else, fellas? That's it, huh?
That's it.
All that for that.
Right?
Well, and we would just like to say hi to everybody on behalf of our silent bassman, Big Wave Dave over there,
Excellent.
who chose to opt out on this one.
Excellent.
Yes.
There you have it, man. We've had a great day in the studio. We've had the pattern interrupt from Phoenix, Arizona. We've had the guys from Helldorado, all the way down from Washington. And I'm beat.
So we're gonna go drink heavily, medicate properly, and we will see you next time. Until then, keep your horns in the sky, your feet on the ground. Peace.
If you're not having fun, then again, this isn't the business for you, right? You gotta find these kinds of things fun. You have to find the.
How'd you do? Did you rock?
Game.
Oh, but we're supposed to be doing
Yeah.
something.
Guitar over.
Oh.
Did you rock?
Being in this band between